The New York Stock Exchange and the London Stock Exchange are these behemoth entities, facilitating millions of trades and highly complex market functions. But it wasn't always like this. Today, we take these exchanges for granted, and the nuances and complexities of how they operate is almost unthinkable. But the truth is, the first stock market started all the way back in the Middle Ages. In this video, we'll talk about how these exchanges came into existence. Let's roll all the way back to the 1300s. It's hard to say this accurately, but the first stock exchange was estimated to be in the 1300s, the late Middle Ages in Italy. It all started with Venetian lenders. They'd actually carry slates with information about various sales and take that information over to potential clients. Think of them as modern-day stockbrokers. They'd help facilitate the sales, and it was the sale of very simple items. But over time, this started to evolve. Soon, these brokers started to introduce the principle of exchanging debts between moneylenders. Things started to become a bit more complex and sophisticated at this point. So here's how things would go down. Let's say moneylender A has a high-risk, high-interest loan, and moneylender B has a low-interest but a long-term loan, which is also lower risk. So let's say lender A wants to get rid of his loan, and so the brokers would try to facilitate a deal between lender A and B and try to get them to swap. This pattern of exchanges started to emerge. Soon, these moneylenders would start to buy government debt, sell debt issues to individual investors for a return, and the exchanges helped to facilitate all of this. Then, this started to evolve even further, and the Venetians ended up becoming the leaders in the field and the first to start trading securities from other governments. Fast forward to 1602. That's when the concept of individual corporate stock started to emerge. Now, this all started with the founding of the Dutch East India Company. Shares or stocks of this company were allowed to be bought by individual investors, all facilitated by exchanges. And then we move on to 1688. And the concept of actually trading one stock for another started to emerge. It's hard to pin down exactly when this happened, but the most accurate record was from a book called Confusion of Confusions, where an American trader called Joseph de la Vega explained the workings of the city's stock market. It's the earliest book about stock trading and the inner workings of a stock market that was ever published. The book was curiously written in the form of a dialogue between a merchant, a shareholder, and a philosopher. This book described the market as sophisticated, but also prone to excesses. De la Vega offered advice to his readers on topics such as the unpredictability of market shifts and the importance of patience in an investment. If he was alive today, he just might have been a YouTuber.
What's up, you guys? It's Grant.
Exchanges were also places where you could trade or invest in government bonds. Now, this all started back in 1693 with King William III in England. England was on its colonization spree, and it needed money to fund all of its wars. So the king facilitated the issue of the first ever government bond. Following this, the Bank of England was actually set up. The first instances of actual exchanges in England started around 1698, and that's when brokers would meet up in coffee houses with regular lists of stocks and commodity prices. Those lists in discrete coffee houses marked the beginning of the first London Stock Exchange. Alright, let's fast forward to 1792. The New York Stock Exchange was opened under a sycamore tree. These trees were also called buttonwood trees. So, 24 stockbrokers from New York City signed what's called the Buttonwood Agreement, and they agreed to trade 5 securities under that tree. What a fascinating way to start off one of the world's largest exchanges. If we take a peek over to Asia, fast forward to 1875, we'll find that the Bombay Stock Exchange was set up. In the 1850s, 5 stockbrokers gathered under a banyan tree in front of Mumbai Town Hall. A decade later, they moved their operations to a new location, but again under a clutter of banyan trees on what is today called the Mahatma Gandhi Road. I just find it fascinating that these behemoth stock exchanges all have their stars under trees. That's weird, but soon more and more stockbrokers started gathering there, and the Mumbai Stock Exchange operations started to pick up. More and more stock exchanges have then started picking up in different countries, and they've evolved and matured into what is the current situation in 2023. It's truly impressive when you take a moment to stop and take a look back and see the humble beginnings of such complex and mature financial institutions that stand tall today.